Today we're going to talk about los verbos cargar y zar. This first page is just a TLDR. Too long didn't read it. It's a video, so too long didn't watch it. But in the most simplest terms, no frills, just simple. Here's what happens. In la forma de yo, if a verb ends in car, as in tocar, it will be spelled yo toqué. If a verb ends in zar, like gozar, it will be a se, gocé. And if the verb ends in gar, va a terminar con ge, jugar, jugué. So these are just the yo forms. I'm going to go through why, but that's what it all boils down to. In the yo form, if your verb ends in car, gar, or zar, it'll have a spelling change to que, se, or ge. So here's why. We have these letters, C, G, and Z, and if you have these letters following it, this is going to produce sort of a hard or strong sound, as in k, cama, comer, cuando. G, garza, goma, guante. Sa, zanahoria, zona, zurdo. So I put the pronunciations under it, but these are harder sounds. Ka, ko, ga, go. And even this one, vergüe, vergüenza. So all of these have that hard sound to it. So if a C is followed by an A, O, U, a G is followed by an A, O, U, or the U with the umlaut, or Z is followed by A, O, U, it's going to be a harder sound, a stronger sound. We also sometimes get these same letters followed by an E or an I. So before where CA made ka and ko, now we have ce, cero, cinco. So listen to the difference of the C sounds. Ka, ma, comer, cuando, ka, ko, ku, ce, cero, cinco. You might say cero or cinco, and that's fine too. But notice that sound is very different. The G, ga, garza, go, o, goma, guante, he, generalmente, girar. So these are hard sounds. Ga, go, gu, and here, he, generalmente, girar. Z's don't really mix with these letters at all. We'll get into that in a little bit. So here's the whole chart. Soft sounds, cero, cinco, cama, comer, cuando, generalmente, girar, garza, goma, guante, vergüenza. We don't really do those. And then zanahoria, zona, zurdo. So depending on what letter follows the C, the G, or the Z, that's going to determine what sound it makes. Now, notice that car, gar, and zar are all AR verbs. Car, AR, gar, zar. They're all AR verbs. So the letters in the preterite that follow that letter are the following. In the yo form, we'll have a, ste, o, amos, astes, aron. So if our endings are a, aste, o, amos, astes, aron, what I'm trying to point out here is that this is the very next letter after your C, your G, or your Z. We have an E here, an A, O, A. Mostly A's, one O and one E. So why does that matter? Looking back here, let's notice A, O, U. These are all the hard sounds after C, G, and Z, and E and I are weaker sounds. So pointing this out one more time, A's and O's, these ones are stronger, E is a little bit weaker, and it's going to end up looking like this. Weaker sound, softer sound, hard sounds. So which of these things is not like the other? It's pretty clear. The yo form is a little bit strange. So let's roll through a few of these. Tocar. Notice I put up at the top some C-E, C-I, C-A, C-O, and C-U sounds. Cero, cinco, cama, comer, cuando. So the first one we're going to see is this one, C-A. So we have aste, o, like comer, amos, astes, aron. But this yo form is going to be most like cero, like the E. Because looking at this, we've got C-A as in cama, C-O as in comer, CA is in comma, CA is in comma, CA is in comma. So we have caste, co, camos, castes, caron. So can I do this? Se as in cero. Well, let me pronounce these for you. Tocaste, tocó, tocamos, tocastes, tocaron. Toce. Does toce sound like tocaste, chocar, where it's a hard sound and all of a sudden we have a soft sound? No, it doesn't. And herein lies the problem. Because of that E, now we need to spell things differently. Well, it's pretty simple. How do we spell the word que in Spanish? Que? Que. So la forma de yo would actually be toque, just like that, toque. So our spelling change happens here. It's because of the letter E. Con gozar. Here's another example. We'd have aste o amos astes aro, just like the previous chart. And here we would have an E. So let's see what that would look like. Gozaste, gozó, gozamos, gozastes, gozaron. Yay. That's like zaste, like zanahoria, zo, like zona, zamos, like zanahoria, zastes, zanahoria, zaron, zanahoria. All the same sounds. So can we do the CE? No. How about a ZE? Well, let me tell you something. Actually, ZE doesn't really happen in Spanish. We have a couple of words, ZE and ZI. They just don't really show up. There are some words, places, Zimbabwe, zinc, but they're all loaner words. There aren't natural words that start with ZE or ZI. Zigzag's one, I think. So what can we do? We want this to sound like gozaste, gozó, gozamos, gozastes, gozaron. We want this to be goce, goce, se, like cero? Yeah, think about it. Why spell zero like this when we could spell it like this? Why spell cinco like this when we can spell cinco like this? It's redundant. There's no need for multiple ways to spell the same sound. So instead of doing that, what they do is they spell it with a C. So in la forma de yo, this would be goce. So goce, gozaste, gozó, gozamos, gozastes, gozaron. But goce will have the spelling change, all because of that letter E. Jugar, and it's important to note that jugar is not going to have a stem change in it. Pero vamos a tener aste o amos astes aron, just like every other time. And this, we need the letter E. So gaste, go, gamos, gastes, garon. Gaste like garza, go like goma, gamos, gastes, garon are like garza. How about here? If we put a G here, it will be he, as in generalmente. So it'd be jugaste, jugó, jugamos, jugastes, jugaron, juge. Juge? Juge doesn't sound like jugar at all. You can't hear that G sound, and it would throw everybody off. So instead of juge, which would be like this, juge, what we need to do for the G's, and this one's a little bit tricky. Notice we've got garza, coma, and guante. Now, if you want an E sound after a G sound, and you want the G to make a sound, you're going to add a silent letter U. Now this U we can hear, guante, because that U is in front of an A, so it's normal. But when you put a G, U-E, the U is silent, but actually what happens is it makes a hard G sound. So in order to say jugué, which is, we know what we want to say, jugaste, jugó, jugamos, jugastes, jugaron, jugué, we get it. What we need to do is do this spelling change, jugué. So now that you know those spelling changes, I do want to point out that sometimes there are some words with this funny little letter. Now notice, in words like que and guerra, we don't actually say the U. Listen, k, que. We're not saying cue, it's k, two letters, k. So this is silent. Just like this, we aren't saying g. I mean, we are saying guerra, guerra. We're not saying guerra. We're saying guerra, but we don't say the U because it's silent. The point of this is so that we don't say herra. If this were G-E-R-R-A like this would be pronounced herra, but the word is pronounced guerra. So in order to make this U silent and this G strong, that's what we do. We put this U in there, guerra. Now, this is a stronger G sound instead of herra. But then you're like, well, aren't there sometimes when you would want to say the U after a G? And there are. And that is where this funky letter comes up right here. After the letter G, you might see this U with an umlaut. Then it's not silent. See here, there's no umlaut, so it is silent. Here, it has an umlaut. It is not silent anymore. Now notice we said jugué here. We don't say this U. But in this word, we do say the U. This word is pronounced vergüenza. 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 And the one at the bottom is pingüino with a we sound. Pingüino. If you didn't have the U with the umlaut, it'd be vergüenza and pingüino. And that's not how we say it. It's vergüenza pingüino. And therefore, we know that those U sounds are said because they have two dots over it. So looking back at this chart, notice E's and I's after C's, G's, and C's make some funny sounds, softer sounds. A's, O's, U's, and U's with umlauts after G's make harder sounds, stronger sounds. And so therefore, we have this pattern where the yo form with that letter E ending, boy, that creates a bit of a problem. And if I go way back to the beginning, this will explain the TLDR. Car goes to K because of that letter E. Gar goes to The because of that letter E. And Gar, al final, goes to Ge with that letter E as well. For more practice activities, you can go right here. For further reading, this is where you would need to be. And if you want some online practices, try these links as well. Ask any questions if you're feeling confused, and good luck.